Hello, this is Pastor Tommy and welcome to another Mega Minute. Here's the last book of the Bible written by this guy named John. He's stranded on this island, been placed on the island of Patmos, and now he's got a glimpse, if you will, of heaven, and God lets him record it down so that you and I can see a little taste of what heaven's going to be like. This is found in Revelation chapter 21, verses 1 through 4. It says, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, 'Now the dwelling of God is with men, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them, and be their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away.'" What a great passage if you begin to think about heaven. I want to show you my little red book. Years ago, when I started out in the ministry, somebody gave me the idea that, Tommy, you need to get a book and record all the important things you do in ministry. So in this little book here, I've got down the dates of when I started in ministry, of course, my wedding date and key dates for me. But as I go through the book, I began to write down every person I ever baptized I've got written in this little book, getting close to 300. Also, in the middle of my book here, I've got every wedding that I've ever performed. Not quite 300, but still a lot of weddings. But in the very back of the book, I've kept all the funerals that I've done for people and for their families. And it helps me as I go back and read these names, think about them, and just remember to pray for the families. But one thing that you and I have in common is that one day, all of our names are going to be in somebody's book. When we die, that's one thing we're guaranteed in this life, is that we're all going to face death, unless we're alive when Christ comes back. But that doesn't have to scare us about dying, because John gives us a great taste of what we have to look forward to. When you think about the way he described heaven, sometimes we think about the things we're going to do and how exciting it's going to be, but it's just as exciting to think about the things that aren't going to be there. Let me show you what I mean here. I've got my little pan, and in here I've got some papers that this Revelation chapter tells us things that will not be in heaven. For example, there's no death in heaven. Think about that. No more fear of dying. We get to live forever with Christ. He also tells us there's no more mourning. So there's no reason to weep. We won't be sorrowful because we're going to be filled with joy. Not even any crying at all. Wipe away the tears. No more tears when we get to heaven. And also, no more pain. Think about that. If you've ever been sick or you've hurt, maybe you've broken a bone or done something to have a lot of pain, think about that for the fact that for the rest of forever and eternity with heaven, with God, there is no more pain. Absolutely no more crying, no more mourning, filled with joy just being there with God, and no more death. So as we think about these things, the Bible says that these things are going to be gone. So it's like when we get there and we realize, when we open our eyes and we get to heaven, I want you to think about the fact that he has promised us that these things will be no more. He says all these things like death and mourning and crying and pain, says they've all gone away and there'll be no more. So just nothing but goodness and happiness and joy in heaven. My prayer is as you memorize this passage that you'll be reminded, man, heaven's a great place. It's a wonderful place. It's going to be filled with lots of amazing things. But also think about the things that won't be there. Things like no more death, pain, crying, mourning. So I hope you enjoy memorizing this passage and look forward to being in heaven and rejoicing with God and Jesus our Savior. Thank you for checking out another Mega Minute here with Pastor Tommy.